Hi there, and welcome to the ATS podcast with me, Will Brown, and John Soulsby, where we break down chunks of health and fitness information into bite sized pieces, remove a bunch of the noise, and just leave what's relevant. Today we are on episode 11, and the topic for today was one requested by somebody at a comp just whilst I was shooting the shit in the warm up room with some people. Uh, Someone was asking about my opinions for strategies to manage nerves when competing. Specifically, this was in powerlifting, but it can be realistically in any sport or any environment, really, I guess. But first, we're going to get into the off topic, which is uh, general top tips for competing and competition fail stories.
Yeah. So competition fail stories wise, I, I've got a pretty large one. Won't name names, but essentially back when I was coaching for the GB junior team, I was out in Texas, and someone was a little bit ambitious was what they would do on their first international, and had put their openers in, and boldly they were then coming out last. So they left a warm up super late because they felt the timings were better and effectively missed less than their opener in the warm up room after the cut off time for dropping your opener. So that was interesting, and then proceeded to obviously not make a single lift on their squat. And yeah, that's probably a large comp fail is going a bit too gun ho on your first international.
Just fucking bombing out in general.
Well, yeah, raw as well.
Yeah, like the frequency with which people. I say the frequent. Like, is it usually one a comp? For power, like context in powerlifting, if you do not, you have 9 attempts. You have three in each discipline. There's three disciplines. If you do not successfully complete to the standard of judging one attempt of each lift, you get like a DNF. Like you do not post a successful total. Given that everyone there, like I don't know of anyone who has never been in it, like who pretty much doesn't know what a squat, bench, and a deadlift is, and has somehow just rocked up at a powerlifting competition on the fly.
Yeah. Well, especially with the ones we run with Scottish powerlifting under the IPF, like you have to pay your membership, wait for a few days for that to come back, and sign up and pay for the comp.
Yeah, there's a lot
Like
of steps to get in a comp,
eight
and
weeks
so
in.
yeah, and the only thing, like you could pick any attempt, you could genuinely pick the bar, or maybe not the bar. There's a minimum attempt for deadlift, but you could pick like
Whatever.
the minimum attempt, which is doable for pretty much everyone, because otherwise you can't select it. It's literally the minimum
Yeah.
attempt on every lift, and just get one in, and then go and do whatever you like. The only
Yeah.
thing stopping you is well hubris essentially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the only thing convincing you otherwise is the fact that you think you could do it, and evidence is to the contrary in that you definitely
Yeah.
cannot.
I'd
Um,
say yeah. From powerlifting, definitely there's one per every. For us, competition day, that's about 60 lifters that like at least that you're like at some point they're very close to bombing or do bomb,
yeah,
which is like mad.
given that it just literally takes writing a number on a piece of paper.
Yeah, like obviously there's extenuating circumstances for like some people if you like get injured in the warm up room or something like that. But that's like so rare. Realistically, 90% of it is you open too heavy, you idiot.
Yeah, open too heavy, squat 3/4 of the way down, get annoyed at the referees because they clearly can't see that you were definitely in, even though you were like Snoop Dogg levels of high.
Yeah,
So
that's a good one on that point. A lot of people bomb on squats because they just train with their mates in a random gym and then come to a comp that is ref by, in our example, the IPF refs, and everyone's just like, "Lol, good one, catch you later." So on the top tip one is most referees will be more than happy to be like, is this it? Especially you'll find a lot of coaches that are also coach a lot of IPF lifters as an example. And most of them will be more than happy to just be like, yeah, you're looking pretty.
Yeah, I would also advise to message them. Don't just post it publicly because you open yourself up to the peanut gallery. I mean, if you're cool with that, fine.
Oh yeah.
But the peanut gallery of people who aren't refs mixed in with the people who are refs, and given that it's on Facebook, you can't tell who's who. Um,
Oh, I completely agree. Yeah, the peanut gallery of opinions is unbelievable, and usually they're clueless as well.
yeah. Uh, do I have any comp fail stories? I mean, last time I think one of the last times I competed, you rickrolled me on the PA systems for my openers. Like, I went to go
That wasn't a
take.
fail.
I mean, I didn't fail the squat, no, but it was still a bit wild.
The joys of your business owner running comps.
Yeah, just chucked Rick Astley onto the opener.
Yeah, got a good laugh.
I don't think I have.
Nah.
No, I don't really have any fail stories. I suppose one time I was doing a push pull. I'd kind of like sacked off the comp cause I was super late to warming up because I was in the afternoon and I think I took somebody to warm up in the group beforehand because the person who was meant to it's I was about to say my now partner Claire was meant to be getting handled by her friend Tasman, but her friend Tasman was also lifting in the afternoon and was like in with a shot of chipping a record, I believe, and as their flight was starting to warm up, was asleep on a sofa in the back room, and I was like, you know what? She probably needs the rest. I was like, she probably needs the rest. I'm fucking, I ain't chipping anything. I'll fucking
Yeah.
handle Claire. And so I did that, but obviously then had to immediately run, do like a couple of warm ups in the 10-minute break, and then go out and fucking lift. Uh, so I think I thought a really good strategy for just a YOLO third attempt. Number one was taking a YOLO third attempt on a comp that I was kind of fucking not really paying attention to. Uh, I then tried to supersede the lack of proper preparation by just getting the fuck slapped out of me by Mark Keys. Made worse by the fact that I called him some rude names because I didn't think he was hitting me hard enough, and then he hit me so hard I pretty much fell onto the platform. Like I almost fell flat on my face, and then proceeded to miss my lift anyway. So it was completely fucking useless.
Yeah.
Top tips for comp. Um, oh, big one. Don't pack your meal prep for the day in the same bag as your kit, because then you might end up with your singlet covered in bolognese. That was a recent
Ah,
one.
that's a good one. Yeah.
That was at Aeternum. Some poor guy fucking took out his singlet for kit check and he had bolognese all over it. I was like,
Bad boys.
especially as that means you can't fucking compete. You can't use it.
Yep.
You can't use kit
Yep.
that's literally got meat all over it. You fucking. Oh my word. To be fair, he didn't know until he opened his kit bag, but I was like,
Yeah,
just
that's-
use a separate bag, bud.
Yeah.
Oh. That's anyone who's ever had a protein shake burst in their bag. Usually only has that happen once. And they're like, you are going in an outside pouch, or I'm just carrying you.
Ooh, or another top tip on the eating one is monitor how much you're drinking, especially if you're someone that gets nervous at comp. I've coached a lot of people that just like sip on Monster or water because they're nervous, and it's something to do because there's an absolute load of like dead time in powerlifting comps where you're doing nothing but waiting. And before you know it, you've had 3 Monsters and 2 liters of water, and you're needing to pee every like 2 seconds.
Yeah, that can really get problematic, especially when it's actually time to lift. If you have like a proper full to the brim bladder, it's not really ideal for competition.
No.
Uh,
Or another one I've seen is you're so full, but it hasn't even got to your bladder yet, so you throw up.
Yeah, that too. But general top tips for most competition environments would be plan out everything for the day. Like, know where the venue is, know how to get there, get an idea for roughly how long it's going to take. Like, is public transport different on the comp day versus the day you're Googling it? Like, just be sure. Because if you're like, oh yeah, there's plenty of buses, and then the comp's on a fucking Sunday and there's no buses, screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure whatever sport you're competing in, you or whoever you're with have like a full grasp of the competition rules, a rough idea of like what to do and when. In terms of as an athlete, don't change up your food too drastically. Keep things pretty simple. You want to have enough fuel and enough food to like fuel the activity, whatever that might be. So cater accordingly, but you also don't want to have too much. Same with fluids. You want to have enough to be optimally hydrated. You don't want to have so much that you're just like a fucking waterbed.
Yeah.
And yeah, don't worry about it. Like, I mean, we're laughing at our own comp failures. Like, they're not that big a deal.
No.
Like, you always see someone get absolutely sniped in the Olympics on like the running thing, and they end up limping and stuff. That's gutting because it's an injury, but like, everyone's like, happens to everyone. Like, everyone's like, yeah, we get it. Like, no one's actually gonna
No.
say anything negative about it. The only way people say stuff that's negative about you at a comp is if you're a knob.
Yeah. Or you put it on Instagram afterwards in the peanut gallery comment.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, the peanut gallery are
But
ruthless.
yes. Yeah.
Managing nerves when competing is the official topic. So for
This one
managing,
I kind of feel is potentially like twofold. You kind of need to, for me, figure out why you get nervous when competing. So like some people I found before is like if you're getting nervous because it's your first competition, then there's a certain element that you can't do too much about because you've never done it before, and you'll be nervous until you do it. But preparation beforehand, so you feel like you know what you're doing, is huge.
yeah,
So practicing as best you can a competition environment and doing what you're going to do on a competition day helps a lot.
what's that old rhyming thing? Because obviously, if it rhymes, it's completely scientific fact. Competence
Fail
is
to
confidence.
yeah, and fail to prepare, prepare to fail. That's another one.
Yeah,
But yeah, and I had an old client as well who used to get really, really nervous about competing. So to clarify as well, being nervous for competing is absolutely fine. And I genuinely think if you aren't nervous for something you're going to do, you don't give a shit about it. Because you generally don't care if everything goes wrong. So there should be a little bit of like pre-game if it's sport or competition, like butterflies is a better way of describing it, but a little bit of nervousness, fine. But this client was really, really nervous every time about competing. And so what we did was just complete trial by fire that she agreed on. Wasn't I just didn't make her do it. But we did like 5 competitions in a year, just like every comp, all of them. And then we got to the end of the year, and it was like, well, it's fine now because you've become so like normalized to competing that it's not a bother.
yeah, I agree on the. There should be some level of nerves. I think my answer is usually, well, let's keep it twofold too. So number one, give yourself plenty of runway to practice in competition setting. So that can be wearing competition uniform, like whatever that might be for your competition. Like in powerlifting, it's a singlet and stuff. In other sports, it might be full kit, like no practice jersey, get your actual game kit on, so it's like you get the feel of everything. And practice under, yeah, competition settings. Like your training should be a good deal harder and more demanding than your competition is likely to be at certain phases, so that you are optimally prepared. Um, and the other one is that there will always be comp nerves, but it's better. I find it more useful to practice some mental reframing and think about them more as excitement than nerves. Like, it is a positive thing. Like, you are excited to display all of your hard work. Like, you are here to, like, it's better to think about getting there, like, being in competition to, like, make a good showing and, like, doing your best and stuff like that. Like, controlling what you can control is another way to think about stuff. Like, if you're worried about something, if you can be like, can I do anything about that? And if not, then don't. Just worry about what's next. As in, am I in the right place on time? Am I here on the right time? What's my next thing? Oh, I've got to get some fluid in, then start warming up. I'm going to do that as best I can. Like, I'm not going to wander off and chat to my pals or people I haven't seen in ages if it's time to be warming up and, like, getting into the zone. In pre-comp time or when I have time to do that, totally fine. If you want to leave that till after, also totally fine. but just that kind of positive reframing of not being nervous about what could go wrong, but being excited about what could go right, I find gets a lot of mileage. Obviously,
Yep.
it's not as simple as have you just tried not being nervous? That's not a thing. But like
Yeah, totally.
reframing the feeling and the kind of physiological aspect of it, of that kind of quickened and shortened breathing, that kind of like goosebumps, all those kinds of physical symptoms that kind of crop up with nervousness as excitement for showing off your training. I mean, number one, in powerlifting, you know you're only doing like 3 reps of each. That's so much easier than training. That's what everyone wishes training was. Nobody wants to do
Yeah,
eights.
powerlifting competitions are so boring in comparison because they take like 3 times the amount of time at least that a gym session takes, and
So much
yeah,
less.
you do like one working set effectively
Yeah.
of one. I think one thing I just thought that if you are super nervous and like powerlifting based again, but you could apply this to a lot. But for us, all the venues are gyms. You could literally just go do an SBD session in that gym. Most of them you'll be able to pay to enter and just be like, sweet, I've already done my comp in the same place.
Yeah,
Awesome.
someone I'm coaching for some of the upcoming districts actually just did that, like off the cuff. They went through to Anvil in
Yeah.
in Paisley and just did like one of their training sessions over there, just to like scope it out and like
Yeah.
see where the kit is. Obviously, if you're going to like really big competitions, like internationally or nationally, that might not be an option.
But you
But
could definitely go with those ones. You could definitely go down a couple of days before, or 3 days before, do like a really light warm up session. Like see the warm up room. You know where all the bathrooms are.
oh,
All
that's
that stuff.
another big one. Actually, that's a good one. Like just getting to know the general facilities, like just your way about, because there'll be nothing worse than you're caught short. You need to go for a piss, and you don't know where the loos are, and you're on time pressure as well in competition.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was the worst.
Yeah. So like you can scope all these things out for most powerlifting comps actually I've seen in the UK that I know of, and the very few that I keep up with in the US. They're all in gyms, to be honest, because I mean that's where all the kit is. So, and the people that care about running them are.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, I'm sure you could definitely go down, and like even just scope it out, or just even just train there and do a full session.
So yeah, in summary, for practical tips for managing nerves when competing, uh, practice how you're going to play. Dedicate some amount of time to competition-specific practice in that your uniform, training intensity, style, whatever things, it differs for sport, but whatever you feel will make it more competition specific, try your best to manifest that a lot in the lead up and the training lead up to your competition if you feel like that will give you the confidence to uh, manage your nerves better. Attempt some positive reframing of the physiological symptoms of nervousness. Those like that kind of feeling of energy. You see a lot of people being quite fidgety, goosebumps, kind of shortened, quickened breathing, all that kind of stuff. Attempt to reframe it as excitement and or work on some drills if those become too rowdy. Like if you're getting out with a useful scope of nervousness into like this might be a panic attack kind of thing, get some idea of how to do some kind of relaxation drills, visualizations, like controlling your breathing, all of these kinds of things um, are very useful if you find that that level of nerves is not productive for you in a competition environment. Some people like ride the lightning and really like the nerves. Some people do not. Figuring out what works for you is just part of your competition experience and part of your learning as like an athlete overall, and what your coach should be hopefully helping you to do too. Um, Keep things nutritionally and everything else as close to normal as you can, and don't just randomly change stuff. So
Yeah.
keep fluid intake, food choices, all very similar to normal. Don't do anything wild. Don't decide that this is the time to uncork that like Estonian jacked 3D you've had sitting on the shelf since 2005. It's like it is the one time to uncork the holy relic, because I mean, number one, you probably fail a piss test. Number two, you might be way too hype.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was it in summary, right?
Yep, hang on.
No worries. Catch everybody in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.